welcome to the vlog. So I've gotten quite a few views on my reveal of my new bike, and I've gotten enough comments now to do kind of a review. So I want to take just a few minutes and give like my first initial thoughts on this bike. So I've had it for about 2 months, so not like a really long time, but I definitely have some pluses and minuses to point out on this bike. So let's get to it. So I'm going to start with the heart of this bike, and I think that's the frame, which is kind of the reason I bought this bike. So this is a Fuji Transonic. It's Fuji's not a name brand, but I'd call this probably the budget aero bike. So I definitely got my money's worth out of this guy. So with the Transonic, that's going to be their aero frame. So it's going to have a really thick down tube there. The headset here looks real nice and tight. The internal cabling is super nice. It's got direct mount brakes, and I'm in love with these. I'll get to that in a second. And then the seat tube has got a real nice aerofoil shape to it, and it hugs the rear tire really well. These are 25mm tires, and I haven't had any problems with them. They work great, super comfortable. Direct mount brake in the back, and it's got this really nice kind of swoop to it, kind of make sure the air flows right over it. Super aerodynamic there. And then you've got a real nice thick chainstay, and then the seat stay's got a little bit of a curve to them, not too much, but they're super sleek. So that's pretty much the heart of this bike, and it is a carbon frame. It's what Fuji calls the C5, I know whatever that means. So it's kind of their entry-level carbon. I'd say it's definitely a step up from my aluminum as far as the stiffness goes. I've been super happy with that. But more than the stiffness, what I've gotten out of the carbon is the comfort. So I've done a century on this bike. I've done several rides, well over 50 miles, and it feels great, super comfortable. Because it's an aero frame, it does have, I set it up to be pretty aggressive as far as the headset. So I do get some neck pain, but I think that's just something I'm gonna have to train my body to. Like I said, I've only had it the 2 months, but I'm getting more and more used to the bike as it goes. I think my fit's pretty good. I've been pretty happy with it. So along with the Transonic, this is what they call the 2.8, and the numbers on this line really just mean what kind of group set you have. So I got a smoking deal on this guy, and I went with the Ultegra 11-speed. So that comes with the shifters. Both direct mount brakes are the Ultegra 11-speed. You've got the updated front derailleur, and then the rear derailleur right there is really awesome. The one thing that it didn't come with the group set was the crank, not Ultegra. I really wish it had, because now that I'm in the power meter market, if I was going to go with the stages, kind of one of the more inexpensive options, now I have to replace my crank. So that's kind of a bummer. So this is the semi-compact crank, 5236. And I'm happy with that gearing. A lot of people would have gone with compact, but personally the subcompact's been fine. I haven't had too big of an issue. I've got the 1128 on the back. So around me it's pretty flat, not too many hills, but I found that even with the mountains that are close by, the 28's been enough. So we'll see how that goes. And what's nice about it is that you can put a 50-tooth chainring on here, and you can put the 34 on here. So if you weren't happy with that semi-compact, with the subcompact, you could easily go with the full-on compact and would be fine. I commute with mountain bike pedals. I like the durability and being able to walk around while I'm commuting. But I swap these out on race day and on the weekend rides with some actual road pedals. So it's a 54 centimeter frame up on top there, and I'm about 6 feet tall, and I find that it fits me pretty well. I ended up putting my saddle all the way back, and then the actual stem works just fine for me. I slammed it not all the way, but I kind of split the difference, and I found that it's been really comfortable. I do need to work on my flexibility a little bit before I drop it anymore. I actually find that in the drops, I don't know, I feel some restriction in my hips. So I pretty much stay in the hoods, and I can put a lot more power out of there. So I need to keep working on my flexibility. So these are just the oval kind of rims there pretty entry level. What I do like about them though is that brake track to brake track, they're 24 millimeters wide. So when paired with the 25 millimeter tire, it just gives it a really nice look. It's super comfortable. In the front, you could probably run a 28 and not have too big of a clearance issues. But in the back, I think it's rated for a 28, but given these rims have like so much side to side wobble, you'd probably get a little bit of rub either on the brake track or on the inside of the seat stays. So on the back, I probably wouldn't run a 28 millimeter, but with 25s, rock solid, had no problems, race and train on them. So I definitely recommend this bike, especially at the, if you can get it on sale. The full-on MSRP I think is a little high. It's like, you know, $2,400. I think that's a little bit high. It does come with Ultegra 11 speed. It is full carbon and aero, but just personally, I don't think it's quite worth that price. But if you can get it under $2,000, and especially if you get like last year's model, you can definitely get some huge discounts. And personally, I think I got a steal on this guy. So that's why I've been super happy with it. So that's a quick little overview, but how about a review? So what are my thoughts on this guy? So I'll say a couple positives. So the positives is the price. So I found that the price that I got on sale, I got last year's model, was super on point. The Ultegra 11 speed definitely pushed me over the tipping point to want to purchase this bike. I was in the market for an aeroframe, and I'm really happy with the look of this bike. I think it's super sharp. The black is really nice. It's got a little bit of gray in there. And it's really hard to capture on film, but you can actually, through the clear and through some of that black, you can actually see the carbon underlay. And when the bike's nice and clean, I think it looks super sharp. So the price and the look are definitely up there. And then I would say the comfort is amazing. So even though this is an aeroframe and not really an endurance kind of frame, you know, I've done several rides over 50 miles, 60 miles, and you know, my rear end and my legs have been super comfortable. Because it's an aeroframe, it does have like a really aggressive kind of stance to it. So you can raise or lower, you know, your handlebars if you want to. But where I have it, you know, I do get a little bit of neck pain. So I need to keep working on my flexibility, but I'd rather have that air position and kind of suffer through some of that. So those are my top 3 things on there. The price is amazing. It's super comfortable. And I definitely like the aero design. It's definitely a winner there. A couple of the issues that I have found is I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe it's the quality of the rims, but I find in windy conditions, or sometimes if I want to give a really hard sprint, the front of the bike handles really well, but then the back wheel, there's like some sort of delay between the rear wheel reacting. So like if I'm going into a turn or something, or if a wind catches me at kind of the wrong angle, the front is super responsive and I can control the bike, but for some reason the rear wheel takes, I know, a little bit of time and there's somewhat of a delay. So it hasn't really impacted me at all. I think my top speed on this bike is around 45 miles per hour, maybe a little bit over that. And I've been super confident, you know, in the drops going downhill. So I wouldn't say it's a problem, but maybe something I noticed, just the rear tire having a little bit of a delay. And then the frame comes with a chain keeper. I don't know how useful that's been. I've actually dropped the chain a couple times. Not while riding, but more or less just handling the bike. And I have gotten the chain kind of stuck and kind of in there, and I was like, you know, having to be careful to pull the chain back out and thread it back on the gears. So it comes with an integrated chain catcher, but I really haven't found it that useful. And I would say the third thing, it's not really a negative, but in the front, I think there's plenty of room for a 28 millimeter tire. I think that would fit no problem. But in the back, I think the clearance is a little tight up top here, especially with these rims not being the best quality. That I think the rim just has too much play side to side with a 20 millimeter tire, that you would get some rub on the seat stay there. So I wish maybe that would have been a little bit more clearance there so you could fit a 28. I think it is spec'd to fit a 28. In practicality, you know, if you're going to give a hard sprint, I don't know if it would actually work. But with a 25, it's been no problems. And then kind of a bonus, I really wish they had gone full Ultegra on the crank there. You know, to save maybe 50 bucks in the in the selling price. Now if somebody wants to throw a power meter on here, which if you've got a bike list, you might want to race it. Now you've got to buy a whole new crank to get a stages. Some of the Garmin options you can put on, they're around the $600 mark just for the single-sided power, or you can go with the Garmin 2 so you can get the dual pedal power. But I don't know, I guess I'm just kind of in a specialized situation where I like running mountain bike pedals so that I can use my mountain bike shoes while I commute. So it is kind of a specific to me, but that's kind of a bummer that I found with this bike, is having the off-brand cranks. I wish they'd just gone full Ultegra. I would have paid that a little bit more, even though I did get this bike on sale for a complete 11-speed group set with Ultegra. That's my short little overview and review. If you've got any other questions or something I missed, hit me up in the comments. I'll definitely try to get to it. And then in another few months, maybe 2 to 4 to 6 months, I'll keep doing these reviews as I find more and more issues and fall in love more and more with this bike. Hope you enjoy the ride. Be safe.